Get your ghetto ass and that piece of, well, you know what, car off my street before I have you arrested for trespassing. That's what Bethany Whitmore shrieked at me while pointing at my Honda Civic parked in my own damn driveway, her cheap wine breath mixing with the ghost of some expensive perfume as she waved her phone mid-call with 911. Yes, officer, there's a suspicious Mexican man casing houses. He looks like a drug dealer. Yeah, that happened. I'm Marcus Rivera, and for 8 years I've watched people lie, cheat, and manipulate their way through my courtroom. But right then, house keys still warm in my palms, staring at Bethany's Botoxed face, twisting with pure hatred, as 2 patrol cars screamed down our quiet suburban street. I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, a cold, careful calm before the storm. See? Bethany thought she was dealing with just another minority she could bully right out of her picture-perfect neighborhood. The porch lights cast these dramatic shadows as she crossed her arms and smirked, absolutely convinced she was about to watch me get hauled off in handcuffs. What she didn't know, what made me almost laugh, was that in 3 weeks, she'd be standing in my courtroom and I'd be the one in the black robes. What would you do if someone called the cops on you for parking in your own driveway? And real talk, where are you watching from? Got a Bethany in your neighborhood too. Because 6 months earlier, I thought buying a house in Maplewood Estates was going to be the fresh start my family needed. After a brutal divorce that left me with custody of my 16-year-old daughter Sophia and about half the assets I'd spent 20 years building, this modest colonial with a picket fence seemed perfect. The air smelled like fresh paint and new beginnings when we moved in. Dad, look, there's actually kids my age here. Sophia squealed, pointing through the window at teenagers shooting hoops. The sound of basketballs echoed off the driveways, mixing with lawnmower hums and the distant laughter of neighbors who didn't know us yet. But across the street, Bethany Whitmore was already plotting her opening move. Within 48 hours, I found my first welcome, a yellow HOA violation stuck under my windshield. Apparently, my Honda Civic counted as a commercial vehicle because it had weight for its slightly tinted windows. That paper felt rough and petty between my fingers. Later, I'd learned Bethany was the unofficial Queen Bee Here real estate agent, HOA board secretary, and admin of the neighborhood Facebook group with 300 nosy members. Her McMansion dominated the street, all fake columns and a fountain that sounded like an old man trying to clear his throat. She'd been running Maplewood for 7 years and her system worked. The Johnsons, a young black couple, lasted 14 months. The Garcias, 11 months. Frank Castellano, retired police detective 4 houses down, had been quietly documenting her pattern for years. She picks families that don't fit her perfect mold, then makes their lives hell till they move. Frank told me over bitter coffee one morning. That first night when Bethany called the cops on me, watching her smirk through my rearview mirror as officers approached, something snapped into place. This wasn't just about me anymore, it was about every family she'd ever tried to run out. So I made a decision. Instead of running, I was going to fight. The morning after the police incident, I found Sophia staring out her window, confused. Dad, why's that lady installing security cameras pointed at us? Sure enough, Bethany was directing 2 men as they mounted cameras straight at our driveway and front door. The whine of drills cut through the morning, a sound that would become the theme song of our little war. By 10, she was on to Phase 2, a city code enforcement officer at my door clipboard and nervous smile in hand. Sorry, Mr. Rivera, but we received a complaint. Your grass is violating city ordinance, supposed to be under 4 inches. I looked down at the dew still sparkling on my perfectly normal 3-inch lawn and almost laughed. Anonymous tip, he said, not meeting my eyes. Just doing my job. Strike 2 came when Sophia trudged home from school, backpack dragging, eyes red. Emma Whitmore told everyone we're probably drug dealers because we drive a Honda, she whispered, holding back tears. Her mom says she's going to make sure we move somewhere more appropriate. The crash of my coffee mug against granite said it all. Time for a counterpunch. See, years in property court teach you to always verify what you own. So I ordered property surveys for every house on our block, cost me $150. 3 days later, I had the receipts. Bethany's precious white picket fence was sitting 18 inches over on my property. But I didn't confront her. I made 3 quiet moves. First, I filed a complaint with the state real estate board about her Facebook posts, a career-ending ethics violation. Second, I submitted a faux IA request for all code enforcement complaints from our neighborhood with IP addresses. Third, I called my civil rights attorney buddy. Marcus, this is textbook section 1983 discrimination. Keep building your paper trail. And just then, Frank knocked on my door. She doesn't know you're a judge. She thinks you're unemployed since you're home during court hours. That was perfect. While Bethany played detective, I built a federal case against her without her even realizing it. Week 2 started with her calling an emergency HOA meeting. Whole community center reeked of disinfectant and tension. Bethany positioned herself at the folding table like Napoleon flanked by Gladys Peaton, queen of ceramic cats and grievances, and Richard Stanton, still proud he got a stop sign installed in '87. We need to discuss the declining standards in our neighborhood, Bethany announced, launching into a slideshow of evidence. My Honda Civic's slightly tinted windows, apparently a commercial fleet. I sat in the back row recording everything. Single-party consent laws, thank you very much. Bethany's nails drummed the table as she rattled off complaints about suspicious activity and loud music. Frank stood up. What specific times, Bethany? My hearing aid or actual noise? She froze, caught. We need new parking restrictions effective immediately. That's when Janet Morrison, a lawyer neighbor, stepped in. You can't vote on bylaws without 48-hour written notice. It's state law. The vote failed 7-3. Bethany's desperation was starting to show. That weekend, while I took Sophia to soccer, Bethany struck with her nuclear option, an orange vehicle abandoned notice taped to my door, my Civic in the driveway. The tow truck was already there, chains hooked when I screeched home. This car's been abandoned for days, the lady across the street lied. Pete, the driver, looked confused when I waived my registration. This is the 3rd bogus call I've had from this street, all for minority families, all from the same number. While Pete unhooked my car, I made 3 calls. City Towing Hotline, Pete's company, for all tow records, and my attorney. Marcus, that's federal territory now. Fraudulent tow requests targeting minorities. Bethany had just graduated from neighborhood nuisance to federal defendant. The next week I woke up to cop cars again. Sophia was crying at the kitchen table. Someone had called in a drug tip at her school. Detective Sarah Chen looked disgusted. Same number's been calling in all the reports on your address. We're documenting a harassment pattern here. Then Pete texted me, Judge Rivera, that crazy lady tried to tow your car again. Thought you should know she's losing it. The irony, Pete knew I was a judge, Bethany didn't. That afternoon, Derek Whitmore, Bethany's husband, showed up at my door with a manila envelope reeking of nervous cologne. Are you Marcus Rivera? I need to serve you with harassment papers and a restraining order petition. I almost choked. After 3 weeks of her attacks, Bethany claimed I was the problem. She filed in my own court. Derek, you might want to ask your wife about the evidence. My security cameras have been busy too. His blank look said it all. He had no idea his wife had been waging psychological warfare while he was away for work. But then Frank showed up with some real news. Marcus, your neighbor's in deeper trouble than we thought. House is in pre-foreclosure real estate license suspended, and the HOA treasury is missing $23,000. I'd seen this pattern before, financially desperate, systematic targeting, escalating fraud. It got better. Frank reached out to the Garcias and Johnson's families. Bethany ran off same harassment break-ins and surprise buyers lined up through Bethany's company. This wasn't just racism, it was a full-on scam, a harassment to sales scheme. I called my attorney. It just became a RICO case. But the real twist came Friday evening. Bethany's own daughter, Emma, showed up at my door. Shaky, clutching a folder. Mr. Rivera, I need to tell you something about my mom. Sophia appeared curiosity, pushing past weeks of resentment. Emma confessed it all. Her mom was planning to plant drugs in my car that weekend. She bought them from some guy her business partner knows. It's supposed to happen while Dad's out of town. And more, Bethany had been stealing from the HOA, hiding foreclosure from Derek, and had an email trail of racist targeting. Emma was scared for Sophia, scared for herself, but determined to help. That night, my kitchen turned into a war room. Saturday. Frank arrived with police files, Sophia combed social media, and I coordinated with the FBI, DEA, and IRS. We had the evidence, the strategy, and a plan monitor document let Bethany walk herself into a federal trap. That night I watched through night vision as Bethany snuck across the street, planting a little baggie in my car. She had no clue 3 agencies were watching her every move. But Monday things went nuclear. Sophia came downstairs pale and shaking. "Dad, Emma just texted me. Her mom called CPS and said you've been touching me inappropriately." That hit me like a punch in the gut. Frank and Detective Chen arrived with the CPS investigator, who after 2 hours said, "This is the most obviously fabricated complaint I've seen in 15 years. That afternoon, Derek showed up broken and apologetic. I had no idea what Bethany's been doing. She told me the mortgage was current. "I think she's planning to hurt you tonight." At dawn, the FBI raided my house searching for drugs Bethany had planted. When I told them who I was, the lead agent just nodded. Within the hour, they found the drugs in my car, exactly where surveillance caught Bethany planting them. Meanwhile, agents hit Bethany's house, pulling her out in cuffs. DEA found 3 kilos of cocaine in her garage. Turns out Bethany had been running a drug distribution ring, using her real estate connections to cover her debts and targeting minority families who were less likely to fight back. The IRS seized her accounts. Local news lit up with the story of the racist HOA queen who turned out to be the county's biggest drug dealer. That evening, my civil rights attorney called Marcus federal prosecutors, offering Bethany a plea, 25 years or face trial for civil rights violations, drug distribution, evidence tampering, false police reports, and conspiracy. With Emma's testimony, Derek's cooperation, and all your recordings, she's got no chance. 3 weeks later, at the Maplewood Estates community meeting, I finally walked in as Judge Rivera, not just Marcus, the harassed neighbor. Bethany sat in an orange jumpsuit, her designer armor replaced by jailhouse cotton. The mayor called me to speak. 6 months ago, my daughter and I moved here for a fresh start. What we found was a criminal who thought she could terrorize us. What she never learned is that for the past 8 years, I've been the judge who sentences people exactly like her. Bethany's face drained of color as the crowd exploded in applause. Her campaign of hate had built her own prison, one documented crime at a time, right under the nose of someone trained to spot every trick in the book. 6 months later, at the first annual Maplewood Estates Diversity Festival, the air was filled with barbecue and laughter, not fear. The Maplewood Justice Fund, started to help families fight HOA abuse, had raised over $127,000. Frank, now HOA president, told me property values are up 18% since Bethy's arrest, and 12 new families moved in the most diverse mix we've ever seen. The irony was rich. Bethany's campaign to protect property values had actually been destroying them. Emma was thriving in California, planning to study criminal justice. Derek moved to Arizona, finally free. Janet Morrison took the mic at the festival. One woman tried to poison this place with hate, but she made one fatal mistake. She picked a fight with someone who knew how to fight back. The applause made my chest ache with pride. Sophia squeezed my hand stronger than ever, determined to help other kids survive what we did. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building something better than what your enemy tried to destroy. Bethany's serving federal time. The judge she targeted is helping protect families for generations. Justice served, community healed, legacy built. Now that's a happy ending. Share your HOA nightmare in the comments, because every neighborhood has a Bethany, and it's about time we all learned how to fight back. And don't forget to subscribe. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens when the next corrupt contractor meets the building inspector who's been waiting 20 years for payback.